Hello and welcome to week 2 now of the work-based learning research approach and proposal module. We're taking a bit of a look at research not only from an academic point of view but also from a commercial perspective. I did a course with Amity University. And please see the tiny URL link here on the page where you'll be able to find a number of different resources that I put together, in particular some case studies which I think are very useful in trying to get an overview of a commercial research perspective. As you're doing your research here, you are going to be taking on the role of a practitioner researcher. This is a term you may want to look through the web for getting extra background information, because you'll become an agent of change, a change agent within the organization. And as you're putting your proposal together, you want to have that perspective. Previously, we were talking about how these various different threads of the project proposal template are going to connect together and the ethics forms that you'll be using. So please make sure that you go to GSM Learn and download the proposal template so that you have that 50% presentation, 50% 3,500 word proposal. There's a fantastic video that we're encouraging everyone to have a look at if you didn't see it yet. Go to YouTube, this YouTube link, and make sure that you take the time to watch that video. It's very useful in terms of getting an understanding of the structure of the proposal and the key elements that we're requiring. Now, we're going to do a little activity here. If you may be watching this video with other people in the study group or as an individual. What I'm going to do is ask you, when I switch to the next slide that has the bigger picture, to stop the video and then to consider the question, what is research in the context of this picture? So here you can see the photograph of the school children. And I'll ask you to pause the video now. Okay, welcome back. I've had great conversations with this diagram, with this photo, about the context of research, and particularly commercial research. And you can see here the main character, the main schoolboy, working hard away, on his business plan or his research proposal, and looking up to the heavens for inspiration to do his research. If you think of him not as an individual employee in the company or as a business, a company itself. There next to him is the competitor, or another employee in the company. And he's looking over to see what his colleague or the other company is doing. Some people might call that market research. It opens up the debate as to what's ethical and what's not appropriate, as you're doing your research from a commercial perspective. In the background, there's another person, another company observing, and again, that opens up some discussion to explore all of the different stakeholders, all of the different factors in this diagram, in this photo, of answering the question, what is research? And my aim is to guide you here to develop your passion for this activity. So if we're looking at this slide from slideplayer.com, I think a good starting point is from Saunders to understand the kind of the research philosophy. What we're hoping to do is to develop knowledge and to explore of that knowledge, because from an academic to a commercial context, that can have different perspective, as well as the different way disciplines in the hard sciences or the social sciences approach gaining knowledge and doing research. So here are some interesting philosophies about the way that we're thinking about research. The term ontology puts us in a position where we're trying to look at how the world works. We're social entities, and we want, as we're doing our research, to be as objective as possible, to not influence the outcome of the study, to agree with our research proposition or our hypothesis. But you need to understand the social constructions, the perceptions of the stakeholders involved, these different social actors. Now, epistemology in an education context, in a situation for a university, would mean how you view knowledge. But in this context for the research, we want to make sure that we understand the epistemology, how knowledge is viewed in the context of our research activity and the discipline that we're working in. And of course, anexology here is including this element of judgment and value. So we want to see that expanded in the ethical section of your proposal as well. So there are a couple ways of looking at this fundamentally. A deductive approach or an inductive approach. Essentially, the deductive approach says, I've done some literature review, I've done some reading, and there are some theories out there. They put forward a hypothesis or a starting proposition, something that needs to be proved. So we'll gather some data, we'll make an observation, and then we'll confirm, validate or invalidate that theory. That's one way of doing it. The inductive approach, which is equally as valid and appropriate, and maybe the way that you want to conduct your project proposal, is to start with observations. So you are looking from a number of different sources. It may be through literature, it may be some empirical data where you are observing things, you are collecting survey information, interviews, etc. We highly recommend that you do a learning journal. This is another source of information. And as you start to analyze that data, you can see a pattern. And that pattern then becomes linked to form a tentative hypothesis. And if with enough robust testing, this hypothesis can turn into a theoretical position or principle. So I'm not going to go through each part of this research methods overview, but essentially what we've got are two general areas. One is going to be the experimental approach, which is more quantitative. The other is more naturalistic, social science approach, which is more qualitative. Now, it's not to say that these are mutually exclusive. It might be that in your approach you're doing a little bit from each area. That's fine as well. But you need to justify, you need to show in your proposal that you're aware of these different approaches. If you're taking that deductive, that a priori approach, or the inductive, a posteriori approach. Now, we'll also be trying to get you to develop your understanding of research, not just from an academic perspective, but also from the commercial side. If you are doing your projects in a work context, as you will be doing for work-based learning, there are a number of different issues that you want to be aware of. So you'll see here some links to a blog discussing the difference between commercial and non-commercial research. But then also JISC in the UK is a great organization to explore. JISC, JISC, and JISC Legal has a couple of interesting resources here that we would recommend that you explore. So finishing off in the last couple slides, we'll just ask you to read through here so that you can get a bit of a perspective of the kind of theoretical approach that academic research takes. And then what we're looking at is an applied research approach where we are hoping to take the findings that we have and put them into a practical perspective. So here you can read through and see a little bit about the objective of the distinction. And again, a bit more in terms of non-commercial research. We want to acquire knowledge, but where is that knowledge going to be directed? Where is it going to be used? So the academic perspective is demonstrated here. And then we finish off here with that commercial research perspective. This slide demonstrates the shift from a non-commercial or an academic point of view into a commercial point of view. That's a quick summary of week 2. If you do have any questions, of course, do contact us, and we hope that we will be working together as usual with your study partners. Thanks very much.